I want you to imagine, just for a second, that you are about to walk into the highest stakes presentation of your entire life.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That is a feeling.
Right, like you are standing outside this heavy glass boardroom door, your palms are a little sweaty, you're, shuffling your notes around.
Definitely. The anticipation is just brutal.
It really is, because behind that door is a decision maker who literally holds the keys to like massive brand exposure, a major jump in sales, and honestly, total validation for all the sleepless nights you've poured into your work.
Yeah, it's the big leagues for sure.
It is the big leagues. But here is the catch. A single misstep. I mean, just one clumsy answer to a question you didn't anticipate could not only result in a flat no, but it could permanently label you as an amateur.
Which is a terrifying scenario for anyone. But it is the everyday objective reality for someone pitching a product to a major retail buyer.
Yeah.
The stakes are just incredibly high, and the margin for error is, well, essentially zero.
It's zero.
Because we naturally tend to think that a great idea or a flawless product just, speaks for itself.
Yeah.
We assume the genius of the work will just shine through.
Right, like the product will do the heavy lifting.
Exactly. But once you cross the threshold of that boardroom, the product itself is really only half the battle.
Okay, let's unpack this because we are diving into a really brilliant strategic guide today. It's by Johann Jacob and his team at Retailbound.
Yeah, they're a top-tier retail channel management consultancy.
They are. And they have synthesized years of industry experience into this very specific framework. The top 5 things not to do when pitching to a retail buyer.
It's such a good list.
It is. And the mission of this deep dive is to explore those exact failure points. Because, even if you are not walking into a corporate headquarters to sell a physical gadget to a big box store, the psychology of pitching still applies to you.
Oh, 100%. It applies everywhere.
Yeah, like whether you are trying to get a new workflow approved by a skeptical boss or, I don't know, convincing your friends to invest time in a startup idea you had, pitching is a universal survival skill.
It is a universal skill. And what makes this particular source material so valuable is its framing.
How so?
Well, it doesn't just give you a generic list of positive affirmations, like, be confident or speak clearly.
Right, the usual fluffy advice.
Yeah, it doesn't do that. It frames success through the lens of entirely preventable mistakes. By understanding the anatomy of a failed pitch, you can reverse engineer a winning strategy.
I like that.
It's like learning how a bridge collapses so you know exactly where to put the structural supports when you build your own.
That is a great way to look at it. So let's look at the first place that bridge usually collapses. It happens right at the beginning of the meeting. You sit down, introductions are made, and instead of giving the buyer a reason to care about the product, people immediately start feature dumping.
Oh, the feature dump, yes.
They just rattle off technical specs, battery life, dimensional weight, or, patent numbers.
Right, they lead with the hardware when the buyer is actually looking for the heart.
The heart, yeah.
Because when a buyer sits down across from you, the very first question playing on a loop in their head is simply, why should I care?
Right. They see dozens of these every week.
Exactly. Dozens of products every single week. So if you start by listing your product's dimensions, you're answering a logistical question they haven't even asked yet.
While ignoring the emotional question they actually need you to answer.
Yes, they are desperate for you to answer that. They want a product that stands out, connects emotionally with a consumer base, and, adds undeniable value to their specific category on the shelf.
It's like pitching purely on technical features is like going on a blind date and just reading off your medical records.
That is hilarious, but accurate.
Right. You sit down at the restaurant, you're like, well, my cholesterol's fantastic. My blood pressure is 120/80, and I have perfect vision.
Very impressive.
I mean, it's factual, sure, but it completely kills the romance.
It really does.
It gives the other person absolutely zero reason to want to spend another hour with you, let alone build a relationship.
A medical record is a great way to think about it because it is totally sterile. You need the romance first.
Yeah, you need the story.
A strong brand story has to answer specific human questions. Like, how was this idea born? What exact human problem does it solve?
Right. Why does it matter right now?
Exactly. Why does it matter to today's consumer specifically? And what actually differentiates it from the, 5 other remarkably similar items already sitting on that retailer's shelf?
Yeah, what makes it special is the packaging sustainable? Is the manufacturing locally sourced? You have to give them a narrative they can latch on to.
You do. But it isn't just about making the buyer feel warm and fuzzy in that moment, right?
Okay.
What's fascinating here is that the buyer in that room, or your boss in that hypothetical we mentioned, isn't the final boss of the video game.
Oh, interesting. They're just the first gate.
They are just the first gate. If a retail buyer decides to take a chance on your product, their job isn't over. They then have to go sell your product internally to their merchandising team.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, they have to justify it to the marketing department. They have to defend it to their executive vice presidents.
So they have to pitch it too.
Precisely. The narrative you provide in that initial pitch is the primary tool you are giving that buyer to go do their job.
So you are arming them for their own internal battles.
Precisely that. If you give them a boring story about battery life, you're basically sending them into an executive meeting with a really dull weapon.
Yeah, they're going to lose that fight.
But did you give them a compelling origin story about how, your product solves a massive pain point for a highly lucrative demographic, they can use that story to secure the budget and the shelf space.
Okay, so let's say you have won their heart. You told an amazing origin story about how you hand-carved this prototype in your garage to solve a problem for your grandmother, and the materials are all upcycled.
Beautiful story.
Right. They are nodding, they're smiling, the romance is real, but affectin doesn't pay the overhead.
No, it does not.
Eventually, that buyer has to logically justify taking a risk on a new product to their accounting department, which pivots us right into the second mistake, the reality check.
Walking into a pitch without knowing your numbers inside and out.
Right.
This is where the majority of pitches go to die, honestly.
Really? Just the math.
Yeah. Retail buyers might enjoy a good story, but they are fundamentally data-driven professionals. The story gets their attention, but the math justifies their decision.
Got it.
They expect you to understand your margins, your exact pricing structure, your current production capacity, and your competitive positioning in the wider market.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting because I want to push back on this a little bit.
Sure, go for it.
If I have an amazing, sustainable product that customers clearly love, I mean, maybe I've got thousands of five-star online reviews and this viral social media presence.
Right, the hype is there.
Yeah. Shouldn't the product just speak for itself? Like, why am I expected to do the retailer's math for them? Aren't they the retail experts who figure out how to price and sell things?
Well, they are the experts, but retail isn't just about selling products. It is fundamentally about monetizing real estate.
Monetizing real estate.
Okay,
Yeah.
think of it this way. Every single inch of shelf space in a store has a literal rent that needs to be paid by the profit margin of the item sitting on it.
Oh, wow.
So if you sit there and fumble your own margins, or you don't know your cost of goods, it signals to the buyer that you just don't understand the basic physics of their industry.
Let's pause right there and define some of this jargon, just so we are all on the same page, because the source talks about knowing your landed cost. What exactly are we calculating there?
Good question. Landed cost is the total price of creating your product, plus the cost of shipping it, paying the customs duties, and getting it all the way to the retailer's specific loading dock.
Okay.
It is the absolute final price tag before the retailer takes possession.
So is everything baked in?
Everything.
Yeah.
And if you don't know that exact number, you cannot accurately tell the buyer what their profit margin will be.
Right.
If you don't know their profit margin, you are basically asking them to take a blind financial risk.
Which they will never do. And the source also mentions sales velocity. I assume that just means, like, how fast the thing flies off the shelf.
That is the core of it, yeah. Sales velocity is the rate at which a product sells over a given period.
Okay.
To tie it back to that real estate concept we just talked about, a product with a lower profit margin might still be highly attractive to a buyer if it has a massive sales velocity.
Because it's moving so fast.
Right, the sheer volume of sales pays the rent for that shelf space.
So fumbling these numbers isn't just a minor slip-up, it's a massive red flag.
It is a competency test.
Yeah.
You aren't just selling them a gadget, You are proposing a high-stakes business partnership.
Right.
If they're going to put you on 500 shelves across the country, they need to know you have the financial acumen to survive that scale.
That makes total sense.
If you can't calculate your landed cost in a quiet boardroom, how are you going to handle a massive supply chain disruption during the holiday season?
Yeah, that is a great point. And it translates perfectly to pitching a boss, too.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you can pitch the most creative marketing campaign in the world, but if you don't have a spreadsheet showing exactly how much it will cost and what the projected return on investment is, you aren't a strategist, you're just a daydreamer.
Exactly. Building on that, the pro tip from Johann Jacob's team is to construct a clear value proposition backed by hard data before you even walk in.
Right. Do the homework.
Yes, don't wait for them to ask. Proactively show them your sales velocity from your own website. Bring those customer reviews.
Show them the proof.
Prove that your beautiful, emotional story actually translates into profitable math.
Okay, so the math works and the story works. Your spreadsheets are bulletproof. Now we have to talk about who you are actually looking at across the table. Because another major trap is forgetting the human element in the boardroom. Brands get so obsessively focused on, closing the deal right now in this specific hour that they treat the buyer as just a gatekeeper.
It is incredibly common to get tunnel vision. You just see the buyer as a physical obstacle standing between you and a purchase order.
It really reminds me of trying to get into an exclusive club. Treating the buyer like a gatekeeper is like treating the nightclub bouncer as just a heavy object you have to push past or trick.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Right. If you do that, you are going to get tossed out on the street. But if you take the time to treat them like a human being, ask how their night is going, learn their names suddenly, you are on the VIP list.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, a bouncer is a good starting point. But a buyer is actually much more like a portfolio manager.
Oh, I like that. A portfolio manager.
Yeah, because they are managing a highly scrutinized portfolio of investments, which are the products in their category.
Right, it's their neck on the line.
Their annual bonus, and sometimes their very job security, depends on the performance of that portfolio. So if you treat them merely as a gate to be unlocked, you are completely ignoring the immense pressure they are under.
So how do you treat a portfolio manager differently than a gatekeeper in a pitch meeting? Like, what does that actually look like?
You build a relationship based on strategic empathy.
Strategic empathy.
Do you ask thoughtful questions about the current trends in their category? Do you understand the specific business needs and logistical pressures they are facing this quarter? Are you respecting their time by keeping your presentation concise?
You're basically pitching yourself as a colleague they would actually want to talk to every week.
Yeah, exactly. A buyer is evaluating you as a potential long-term partner. If you build genuine rapport, you open doors for the future.
Yeah.
A no today, maybe because they simply don't have the shelf space this season, can very easily become a yes next year or on your next product iteration, provided you establish mutual respect.
Which brings up a really fascinating dilemma. Because, okay, you've taken this advice, you've built this great rapport, you really like the buyer, and you desperately want to impress your new potential partner.
Naturally.
The temptation to just say yes to absolutely everything they ask is completely overwhelming. If they ask if you can ship 1 million units by Tuesday, you want to scream, yes, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
And this leads us to the next massive pitfall. Mistake number 4. The execution trap. Overpromising what you cannot deliver.
This is perhaps the most dangerous mistake on the list because it is usually born out of genuine enthusiasm, not malice.
You just want to please them.
Right. The source material highlights several specific variations of this trap. It's claiming you can fulfill national retail demand when your factory can realistically only handle regional distribution.
Oh, yikes.
Or it's overstating your past sales data to look like a bigger corporation than you are.
Oh.
Or, very commonly, it's promising to design and ship entirely new variations of your product that you do not have the capital or the engineering resources to actually develop on their timeline.
Let's talk about those variations for a second. When we say new variations, the industry term used in the guide is SKUs, right? S-K-U-S.
Yes, SKUs. It stands for stock keeping unit. It's basically the unique barcode number assigned to every specific variation of a product.
Okay.
So if you sell a water bottle, the red one is one SKU, the blue one is a second SKU, and the larger red one is a third SKU.
Yeah.
Buyers love exclusive SKUs, like a color or size they can only sell at their specific store.
Got it. So they ask for a custom SKU and you immediately say yes, even though you know your manufacturing partner is completely maxed out.
Exactly.
Here is my challenge, though, because in the broader business culture, especially in startup spaces, we are constantly relentlessly told to fake it till you make it.
Oh, yes. The classic startup mantra.
Right. Sell the vision. So why not overpromise to secure that massive retail bag, get the contract signed, and then just scramble like crazy to figure out the logistics later? Isn't that how empires are built? You jump off the cliff and build the airplane on the way down.
That is how empires collapse in physical retail. Oh, absolutely. The fake it till you make it myth completely falls apart when you are dealing with physical supply chains. Think about the mechanics of what happens when you fail to deliver.
Okay.
If a buyer allocates premium shelf space to your product for a major holiday rollout and your shipment is 3 weeks late because you overpromised your factory's actual capacity, you haven't just let them down emotionally.
You've left empty shelves in their store.
You have left dead air where money should be. You have actively cost that buyer revenue. You've ruined their category metrics for the quarter, and you've made them look incredibly foolish to the executives they had to convince back in step one.
Wow, yeah, that is bad.
Trust, once broken in this industry, is almost impossible to rebuild. They will pull your product, put it on clearance to get rid of it, and replace you with a competitor who actually delivers on time.
So it's better to look small but capable than massive and chaotic.
Far better. Being transparent about your scaling limitations doesn't make you look weak. It makes you look like a seasoned, trustworthy professional.
Right.
If you are still scaling your operations, explain your true capacity. Say, we can reliably supply your West Coast stores this quarter, and we will be ready for national rollout by Q3.
They appreciate that.
A buyer will deeply respect that honesty. It positions you as a safe, predictable partner rather than a liability waiting to explode their spreadsheet.
Honesty as a literal risk mitigation strategy. I love that. And again, translating this back to your everyday life, this is the equivalent of pitching a massive new marketing initiative to your boss, getting it approved, but not having the actual bandwidth on your team to execute it.
Exactly the same thing.
You might look like a hero on Monday, but by Friday, when deadlines are missed, your reputation is torched.
The underlying principle is identical. Reliability always outlasts raw potential.
Okay, so let's fast forward. The pitch meeting is officially over. You told a fantastic story. You nailed the landed costs and sales velocity. You built genuine rapport with the portfolio manager across the table, and you stayed completely honest about your production capacity.
A perfect meeting.
You shake hands, you walk out of the boardroom, and now the waiting game begins.
Which brings us to the final hurdle in the retail pitch life cycle. Mistake number 5, the post-pitch silence, and how you handle the follow-up.
It is the silent killer.
Yeah.
You walk out feeling on top of the world, but a week goes by, then 2 weeks. No email, no phone call.
Just crickets.
Many entrepreneurs assume that silence means no. They get discouraged, their ego takes a hit, and they quietly walk away.
That's not true.
No, the reality of retail is that buyers are juggling hundreds of SKUs. They are sitting in back-to-back meetings, putting out continuous supply chain fires, and managing immense internal priorities.
We all know that agonizing feeling in our personal lives. You send a risky text or an important email to a colleague and you get radio silence for 48 hours.
Oh, it's the worst.
You immediately spiral. You assume the other person hates your idea, they hate you, and they are currently plotting your downfall. When in reality, they just got pulled into a sudden off-site meeting or they haven't had their morning coffee yet. This raises an important question, though. How do you stay on a busy buyer's radar without crossing the line into being annoying?
Right, you don't want to spam them.
No, definitely not. The answer is providing continuous professional value. You don't just email them saying, just checking in.
The dreaded just checking in email.
It's awful. Johann Jacobs' team recommends a very specific protocol here. Send a short, highly professional follow-up email within a few days of your pitch. Thank them for their time. Concisely restate the key value propositions of your product in bullet points and provide any documentation or data they casually asked for during the meeting.
And the guide also points out that the follow-up is actually an extension of the preparation you should have been doing before you even walked in, right?
That is a crucial connection, yeah. The source outlines several ways to strengthen your pitch that feed directly into your follow-up game.
Like what?
Well, you should be proactively preparing for objections so that when they push back on pricing in an email, you already have a well-reasoned response ready to go.
Oh, that's smart.
You should also elevate your professionalism with strong visual aids. A crisp pitch deck, high-quality packaging mock-ups, or physical product samples they can touch and feel during the meeting.
Yeah.
Those leave a lasting impression that speaks for you while you are waiting for that email reply.
It's all about showing, not just telling, that you are a top-tier partner. But let's look at the worst-case scenario.
Okay.
What if they do eventually reply and it is a definitive no?
Even then, the relationship isn't over. You should always politely ask for feedback.
Oh, really? Just ask them why.
Yeah. Why was it a no?
Yeah.
Was the price point too high for their specific demographic? Did they already have too many competitors in that category?
Because then you can use that.
Exactly. You take that data, you rework your cost of goods or your packaging, and you come back next season with a revised offering. Staying flexible and keeping those lines of communication open is how you adapt and win in the long game.
So, synthesizing all of this winning at retail, or really winning at any high-stakes pitch, isn't just about having the coolest gadget or the smartest idea in the room.
No, it's not.
It is a very deliberate alchemy. It's equal parts exhaustive preparation on the math, authentic storytelling on the heart, and most importantly, strategic empathy for the person sitting across the table. You have to understand the pressures they face.
Empathy really is the engine of the whole process. You are stepping entirely into their world, speaking their language of margins and metrics, while offering them a narrative lifeline they can use to succeed in their own corporate environment.
And for you listening right now, I want you to carry this with you into your next big moment. Whether you are pitching a physical product to a massive national retailer, pitching a totally new workflow strategy to your boss, or just pitching a wild startup idea to a friend over coffee, these principles are universal.
They really are.
Lead with a story that makes them actually care. Back that emotion up with bulletproof data. Treat them like a human portfolio manager, not a hurdle. Be ruthlessly reliable about what you can deliver. And follow through with professional persistence. Those are the universal keys to getting a yes. Thanks for diving deep with us today. We'll catch you on the next one.
Before we go, I'll leave you with one final thought to ponder, something that really emerges when you read between the lines of this advice. We put so much immense pressure on ourselves to prove that our idea is the absolute best, the most innovative, the most disruptive thing in the world. But given that retail buyers or bosses or investors are juggling immense internal pressure and risk, what if the ultimate goal of a pitch isn't to prove you are the absolute best? What if the goal is simply to prove that you are the safest and easiest option for them to say yes to, without risking their own job?